All right, I think this is going to be the last part of this sort of deployment series. So in the last videos, we basically went through the process of starting from pulling a Vendure, starting up a Vendure project, as well as pulling the Remix kind of get starting front end. And we ran that locally, and we connected the two. It looked good, and then we went through the process of setting up a managed Postgres database on DigitalOcean, and then we pushed two app projects on DigitalOcean, one for the back end, one for the front end, and we made everything talk together. The last part that we need to sort of have a mostly functioning app that I'm going to cover is the asset server. And this is something that I've mentioned before, where I was like doubting, the functionality of the application. And what we'll see is if we go into admin, so I just went into the domain name that we set up of Vendure.io, and I went into admin and I logged in, and now I'm under assets, and I'm going to upload a image. And what we'll notice is that it shouldn't really work. Yeah, so we have an error, and we can see that the image, it's recognizing something. I don't know how that part works, but it's recognizing something. There's no thumbnail, there's no preview image, or I think this is still considered a thumbnail. And then you click preview and there's no preview image. So this part is very problematic because you can't upload product images, which is sort of, I would say, a big part of the functionality. So let's fix this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this so it's not in our way. And then we're going to go over to DigitalOcean to set it up. So in DigitalOcean, we're going to create a new spaces bucket. And I'm going to separate this into a different region. Just do New York. We can enable CDN if we want to. And we're just going to call it Avenger. And we'll create space. Okay, first thing I'm going to do here is create a folder. I'm going to call it assets. Inside the settings, we're going to keep it as restricted. So you need to set up an access key in order to access this. So if you go down to API, and then you're going to go over to space keys, and we'll generate a new key. And I'm going to delete this key before uploading this video as well. We're going to copy both of these, the secret and the access, and the top one as well. And inside our environment file, we're going to create 3 new variables. And our endpoint's going to be given right up here at the top. And we have a CDN endpoint or an origin endpoint. I suppose you want to use a CDN endpoint since we have that enabled. Now there's a few issues with this endpoint. Okay, so before I go into that, I think we have our DigitalOcean space set up. We have our environment keys to access it, and we have our backend running on Vendure.io. So we're ready to push some updates. So let's update. We need to come into the asset server plugin. We need to do a new storage strategy, and we're going to do we have to include, let me think, configure S3 asset storage. So if you're not familiar, which I'm sure you are, DigitalOcean Space is S3 compatible, AWS S3 compatible. So that's what we're configuring. So if you have questions about this configuration or anything like that, you can refer to AWS's S3 SDK docs. Inside here, we need to define the bucket. The bucket we named Vendure assets, I think. S3 configuration. Actually, we need our credentials. Let's install our credentials here. So I saved a little bit of time. And we're just going to use our DA space. And let's also copy these into this file here. Whoops. Let's see. We're almost done. We just have to finish this configuration here. Okay, last thing we need is enforce path style, signature. We need our region. And it doesn't matter what it is. What's the AWS like SDK just needs a value there according to documentation. So it doesn't have to actually match the region that your space is in. So we're just going to define a random region. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to modify the upload configuration. And I found that I have to do this because if we just set the configuration parameter, this basically tells it how to view the information. You could view the information, but if you upload new information into your space, the ACL value, whatever that actually means, I was a little unclear on that, is for DigitalOcean, it's private by default. So we want to open this up to be public read. There's other values you could use too. There's public, there's private, there's what else is there? So you either have private or public read, but within the AWS SDK you have a few more options. I believe I think there's about 4 or 5 more options. So we reconfigured that. The last thing we have to do is our endpoint is not configured correctly, and this asset URL prefix is not configured correctly. So if is dev, we can leave it undefined. That's okay, I guess. Well, I actually don't know how that will work if we change that storage strategy. So I'm going to take the same endpoint, and we have to remove the actual bucket name. Oh, no. Sorry. We keep the space, we keep the bucket name here, but we have to remove it from our endpoint. And then we have to add assets. Just like that, no forward slash afterwards. And on this prefix, you need to add a forward slash afterwards. Okay, I think that's set up pretty good. Okay, that is pending. I mean, that's going to be deploying, and that's going to fail because we don't have the environment variables plugged in. So let's plug these in. Going to backend, edit environment variables right there. Save. Okay, save that. Oh, whoops! I totally forgot to even install the AWS SDK. There's 2 packages you have to install, otherwise the build will fail. It's going to need to use client SDK as well as a package called libstorage. Okay, let's let that build. Oh man, I'm getting tired here, making mistakes. This should be not like this. All right, so we uploaded, we're deployed. I just refreshed here, so we're on a new setup. Let's see if this actually works now. Unrecognized SSL. I've seen this before. This is one that I got. Okay, so I called it called the bucket Avenger Space, not Avenger Assets. So that is updated. Okay, so I'm gonna push this and build it and deploy it. All right, this has got to be it. Deployed, refreshed. Let's try again. Unknown error. I'm thinking it could be something with the CDN. Let me try not going through the CDN. Yeah, let's try not using the CDN. Let's see if that does anything different. I'm gonna push this and then I'm gonna update the environment variable, the endpoint, to not use the CDN. All right, now this is gonna be it. Hopefully, I'm not sure why using the CDN would cause that. Um, so maybe this won't be it. We'll see. Upload. All right. But then you come in here and this is probably as far as I'm going to be able to take it at this point. Or I don't think we really need DigitalOcean too much anymore. I mean, all the pieces are there. But what you're going to notice is that the image is much larger on the right. Like there's more width to it, and it's not scaling properly. To do that, what we're going to have to look into in the future, and I'll make another video once I have a chance to kind of dig into it a little bit more, is we have to utilize it's the sharp asset preview strategy and the uh, Vendure docs explain it. So if you want to dive into that and try to utilize that, I think that's what would fix this situation. And then when you go to preview, if you set different sizes, if I go to small, all it's doing is cropping the image. It's not resizing it. So it's not typically what you would want. So this may be something that I have to try to fix. I think I'm pretty good with DigitalOcean assets. I think I'm gonna destroy everything, so I'm not racking up a huge water bill at the end of the month. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them somewhere. I don't know, you could comment them and I can take a look, or maybe someone else with more experience might be able to chime in a little bit. But I hope this was helpful in at least getting the bones of it set up so that you're deployed in some sense. Because I know it did take me a while to get to this point, and if I can if I can save that time for someone else, I think that could be helpful. Other than that, if I have to blur out some of the information from DigitalOcean, so if I accidentally forget something, please don't hack me. Just let me know. I'll modify it to blur it out. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that covers DigitalOcean. So from this point, I'm just going to tear down everything that we built up. I'm going to delete the database, going to remove the space, going to remove the access key and all that stuff. And then I'll publish a video. Until next time, I think the next video will probably be maybe on the scaling thing, because that's something that I'll need to have figured out for it to be more useful for the user. All right, take care.